All right, Andor season 1, episodes 1 through 3. Welcome back, the Friends We Made podcast. I'm Court. This is Tim. We're back again to talk about what we're watching this week. It is Andor, first 3 episodes. So this is the fourth episode, or the fourth series on Disney Plus from the extended Star Wars universe. Of course, we had the Mandalorian, then we got the Book of Boba Fett, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now we're at Andor. So before we get into Andor, what are your feelings so far on, I guess the first 3 series that Star Wars is doing on Disney Plus? And do you like them, or what are you thinking?
I liked Obi-Wan probably the best, and that even then, there were only parts of it. I don't know. It just feels like they all three felt very similar. And it was just always like a chase going on, and like it felt very adventurous, which is a good thing. But it didn't have a whole lot of character development or even like world development because they just kept hopping around from place to place so much. They just after the Mandalorian, it just seemed like every episode was okay. We're going to start here, get chased off, try to save somebody while we're getting chased off, and then find ourselves somewhere new. Every episode just seemed the same. And then the Book of Boba Fett had a similar feel, even though the story wasn't really written that way. It was just very much like cookie cutter story or plot lines. But Obi-Wan I definitely thought was a little deeper. Characters were more familiar, and I think that they definitely did a better job with that one. And now with Andor so far, I feel like it's even better. It feels like its own thing, which is really something I've been waiting for.
Interesting. I would say I pretty much completely disagree. I do like Andor. I didn't really like Obi-Wan Kenobi. I didn't dislike it. It just wasn't one I liked as much. I understand all the complaints with the Mandalorian because it really is just an adventure of the week. I know people said that the first few episodes, it was almost like playing a video game where like you start off at the central location with Grief Cargo, and then he gives him his mission. He goes on the mission, then he comes back to get the next mission, and it's just kind of like a free world, type video game. I could 100% see that. I did like the Mandalorian, what they did in season 2 and the way season 2 ended. It seems like they were kind of expanding on that a little bit, especially the episode where we saw Bill Burr's character, who's apparently from the Boston part of the galaxy with that accent.
I noticed they got people from like the Scottish part. Like that's like I was noticed that in Andor. Like it's like specific Scottish accents,
so
very like British accents. Like they've got it. It's kind of coincidental.
But yeah, so I like the way that we ended Mandalorian. I think it suffers from like one of the main things that I think Star Wars suffers from, and it's the fact that when it was originally sold to 20th Century Fox back in the 70s when it was created, they let Lucas keep the merchandising rights. So it's like they got to jam pack in those toy opportunities. So you're not going to get a Star Wars that doesn't have characters that are going to lend themselves to some toy sales. Not that I don't like Baby Yoda or Grogu and the story they're building around him, but it's just like, oh, here we go again. They're putting in a character just so we can get some toy sales around Christmas. And I also feel like the Star Wars universe can feel incredibly small at times. It's like we're always on Tatooine, which I get it. It's a desert planet. It's cheap to shoot there. But like, can we get further places in the galaxy? So I will say I did like Obi-Wan for that reason, that it did expand a little bit. And I actually like the Book of Boba Fett, I think, more than a lot of people did. I like the backstory that we got with him and the Jawas. The issue that I have with the Book of Boba Fett is he's a crime lord, and I feel like a Disney property doesn't want to tell the story of a crime lord. So, we can't actually ever see him shaking down people or doing the things that you would expect someone to do if they're going to come into a new area and overthrow the previous crime lord and take over. So, I didn't quite like that as much. And I will admit the best episodes of the Book of Boba Fett were the ones that were basically just episodes of The Mandalorian. But that being said, I am happy with Andor. I saw someone describe it as like a Star Wars show for adults. It seemed like very grounded, and I haven't seen a lightsaber yet. So we're seeing more of what it is like to live in the galaxy under the Empire for the everyday people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with the adult feel. Just I was pretty surprised immediately when he killed the second guard.
Yes,
Like
yes.
shoot to the face. It didn't feel like Star Wars. It felt. I mean, it didn't. It wasn't graphically done, but it didn't feel, like childish. It felt like something definitely more mature than the usual way they handle that.
Yeah, well, getting into that first scene, when he walks into the establishment, I'm thinking to myself, is this a brothel?
Yeah.
Like, is this guy in a brothel on Disney? Am I watching Disney right now? And he was in a brothel, and I was like, well, I mean, it was tastefully done. You don't see like any nudity or anything like that, but it's clear where he's at and what's going on with that. And we have these other shows that are on right now, so it's hard to like not compare them. And I just think about the first episode, the first scene of Andor, and I juxtapose it to the first 10 minutes of the Rings of Power's first episode. And it's like I instantly know more about Cassian Andor than I did about Glandriel in 5 minutes than I did in that whole extended long monologue. We don't know much. He's somewhere looking for his sister, so we know what his motivation is. And of course, he's the same character from Rogue One, so we do know who he is. But
Right.
this takes place before that. This is an origin story.
Yeah, no, I thought again, same thing with that and the gunshot. They did it was not Star Warsy, but it was tastefully done. So it didn't feel so out of place, but it definitely was. I mean, I don't remember seeing a brothel so obviously in any Star Wars before. So
yeah, the seediest place we've been to is Mos Eisley, which is just a bar with some live music playing.
yeah, a bunch of people like playing
I
games
don't
like
know.
discreetly and
Right. And the thing about him shooting the second guy, it was such a gray area because the first guy, he did not kill that guy on purpose. Those
no.
guys were trying to shake him down. Those were the bad guys. But I kind of understood why he shot that other guy. It's like, well, it's going to be cleaner. It's going to be easier for me to get away if this guy's not talking about what happened. He's telling me a story about how we'll go in and tell the same story. But how do I know when we get to the authorities, he doesn't change his tune because he's one of them and I'm not?
I mean, that's exactly why that guy started saying that. I think I lost you. But that's like, I don't know, you could see it kind of playing behind the eyes. Like if it was a book, you'd probably read it. But where at first, the first person who thinks about the fact that now that guard has to die is the guard, showing that he's got the negative intentions kind of forefront in his mind. And I feel like it took Andor a few seconds to realize I'm gonna have to kill this guy. And it was the guy saying that like made him realize, oh shit, the reason he's doing this is because he wants to live, because he knows that if he lives, he's gonna tell on me. And so he made the decision. So I mean, it shows that he needs to get done, what's necessary, but also kind of shows that that's not really where his mind went immediately. In my idea, that's the way I saw it.
And I think it shows that he knows that if the roles were reversed, that guy wouldn't hesitate to shoot him.
No.
Right. So yeah, I thought that first scene was great. So that really gives us a central conflict of the first 3 episodes. Now he's wanted for murder. And so he goes back, we see where he lives. We get another droid, B2. I like that droid. I'm sure he'll be on shelves for this upcoming Christmas season real soon. They're going to be a lot of
guy
B2,
who plays his voice. The guy, did you see the guy? Like, did you look up the cast at all?
I did a little bit. I know he's also involved in the world.
He does a lot of like just random ass sounds. Like, if you ever seen Moana, he played the chicken. He does like
I've not seen
a little bit of robots and things. He was in A Knight's Tale. He was like the singing assistant. Either way, I like that actor, and it's just funny because whenever you see like a random ass character like that, it's him. It'll beep or boop like 3 times in the whole. I mean, this one happens to talk, but he's just he's a funny actor. Right. Anyway, yeah, I like that. A little better than BB-8, I think. I'm a big fan of BB-8.
Me neither. And it's like we just need something that is going to remind the fans a little bit of R2D2. So we got to throw in that kind of droid to bring that nostalgia. And I think they pretty much lay off the nostalgia baiting for the most part. But, that's just a thing that you're going to see in the Star Wars universe. So then, we see the flashback of him on his home planet, Kandori, where he's with his sister. And I thought it was a really interesting choice that they didn't put subtitles in when they're speaking a different language. You got to really have confidence in the story that you're telling, that people are going to be able to follow it when it's in a made up language with no subtitles. But I also like it because it keeps it kind of mysterious. It's clear what's going on, but they're not just telling you exactly is what these people are saying. You just have to pick up based on watching the story, the body language, and what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I always like when they don't do subtitles, unless it's going to be like, characters that are in it for seasons and seasons where it's going to matter. But like for little short periods like that, I think it kind of adds to the, feeling like you don't know what's going on and feeling like those people are so isolated. Because in Star Wars, they have very frequently they have that this place doesn't matter and there's not going to be something we have to learn.
Right. And I feel like the way I was reading that planet is like they were kind of a more primitive planet. Like they don't have like starships and they're not doing intergalactic travel, but the Empire discovers them and they're just going to mine that planet for resources, basically. And the people who live there, they're going to deal with it or they're going to die. It's just, the Empire is going to roll over you and do what it does. And then we get, the guard here who is really serious about. He takes his job seriously. There's a murder. Two other of our security officers have been killed, and we need to find who did it. And his boss is like, "No, we do not. We are a security company that's contracted with the Empire. We need to make sure that on paper that we are a safe place. There's no crime. We don't need to go digging into this because that guy, the commanding officer, knew exactly what happened. He was like, these guys were in a place they weren't supposed to be. They had money they shouldn't have had. They were probably checking down the wrong guy, and that's what happens. And he had it exactly right. But we see the sergeant here. He's just not having that, and he's a very uptight person. He says he tailored his uniform. You can tell his uniform fits better than everybody else's uniform.
Yeah,
I like the way they designed it like that. It has like sharper corners and everything, and he's just not going to let it go. And I feel like the people who work with him are just kind of like, bro, no, we are private security. We don't need to go chasing after anybody. We don't need to go arresting anyone, but he's just not having it.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a few different vibes through him throughout the time, but your initial thought was definitely not going to be, I didn't think he'd be like any kind of a major villain. He just seemed a little goofy and not clumsy because they didn't really show any of that, but he had that clumsy kind of feel to him where he didn't feel threatening at all, which kind of makes for a bad villain. So he grew on me a little more.
I don't know if I would call him a villain. He's more of an antagonist.
Yeah,
because
which again shows that he's not going to be throughout the rest of the series. I don't think and if he is, he'll be a background thing because he's not that guy. He's not like an Obi-Wan where he's facing Vader the whole time. This is going to be more of a. I think this was a stepping chain for him. Maybe he'll come back, but he's definitely not going to be featured as the villain. So,
well, I think the way this all plays out is not going to be good for his career, based on what he was told to do, what he chose to do, and the consequences of it.
Yeah,
I think when his superiors find out about this, it's like you just gave us the headache that we specifically told you we wanted to avoid.
Yeah, that was pretty much a disaster. That's later on, episode 3. But.
Yeah. So then we meet Binks, I think is this character. I feel like there's a weird relationship between him and between her and Cassian, where like she's dating someone else. I think that guy's name's actually Tim, which is a very not Star Warsy name, I thought. But she's dating someone else, but it seems like maybe they used to date or like there's like some kind of attraction there. I don't know. And then I feel like her current boyfriend also senses that. So there's like some unspoken jealousy there, but he goes to her and he tells her that he needs to be put in contact with her buyer. She has a buyer. He's obviously dealing in stolen goods and how he's making his money, kind of as a low-level outlaw on this planet. And so he convinces her to call that person to sell what he has to them. And then we see that it starts to pop up that he is wanted for questioning for the murder of those 2 guards. And once he realizes that, he needs to get out of town.
Yeah, he went to go sell that expensive item before then even, though, didn't he? Again, I feel like he's a step ahead of things. He's a pretty sharp guy. I feel like he saw it coming one way or the other. Or at least even if he didn't know what was going to happen, he wanted a plan.
Right. I don't know if he was selling the same thing. Because I know he gets confronted by the one guy who tells him he knows he's changing like the flight logs, and he knows he's doing it for not an above board reason. And then we do get the more flashbacks to him with his sister. We see like he leaves his sister behind. He goes off with a group. There's a ship that's crashed on their planet, and basically there's one guy alive still, and he kills one of them, and then they kill him with blow darts. And my whole thing is like, if someone hits you with a blow dart and you see there's a lot of them and you have a gun, your best move is to put your hands up at that point and not just keep shooting wildly at them.
Or run somewhere. You're at the bottom of a canyon, like literally the low ground, and like surrounded, like, and you're just gonna like keep switching sides.
I don't know.
I'm telling you, he was not a. He was like a assistant or something. I don't think he was a warrior. But something about their garb, the kids, what they were wearing. It seemed like they were scavengers in general. I know later you hear that their mining community that got destroyed, but it seems like they were gonna. Like they had like little different uniform pieces all over them as far as like, different, like on the leg. I remember she had some orange, like, from like would be like a pilot, I would assume, or something. So either way, you could see that they were kind of just scavengers, and their clothing kind of showed you that they've been just kind of raiding ships and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of scavengers in the Star Wars universe. And even after everyone else takes like their fallen, I don't know if she was their leader or their friend, or they all take her body away. He decides that he's going to go in the ship, to see what he can find in there. And then that's when he meets the woman who later becomes his adopted mother. And she's like doing the same thing, basically. They're all scavenging. And I'm thinking to myself, if they were on Tatooine, this would be a bunch of Jawas here. We'd be on the Book of Boba Fett again. Like, there's always scavenging going on in the Star Wars universe. But that was interesting that she said, we can't leave him here. We have to take him with us, because if we do, the Republic, I think it's the Republic at that point, not the Empire, is going to come and they're going to kill everybody on this planet. So that makes me wonder, was she right? Did they kill his sister? Why is he on this quest for his sister? What makes him think that she's alive? How is he getting information that she would even be in that brothel even? So I'm interested to see if that gets expanded on or not.
I mean, I would assume that they've had at least contact since he flew away, because, I mean, what are the chances of her getting off the planet, him hearing about her, and even knowing that it would be the same person? I feel like it's just, I feel like there's going to be some backstory there. I don't know if she'll be like a main character or anything, but I mean, I don't know. There's just no way that he would have just randomly heard a kid from that same place and assumed it to be her. And it seems, especially if it's going to actually be her, in the long run, then she's going to have probably had to get some help from him or his family to get there, I would think, but we'll see.
Right. So then you got the crew that decides that I'm just calling him the lieutenant character. I forget his name. He gets together to go and get Andy and not Andy, like missing up Andor Cassian. They go to get him, and like the other security officers there are like telling him like, going under that planet, that's not going to be a safe thing. Like we're not going to be welcome there, like, and I don't understand why he doesn't understand that. Like, you can't just show up like, yeah, we're in charge. If you have any complaints, there's a suggestion box in the corner, but we're going to come and we're going to take away one of the people that you guys work with and know, and say that he's a murderer. Like, I don't know why he thought that was going to work. And it seemed like a lot of the guards who were with him were not really feeling it. He gave the world's worst psych up speech.
Yeah, it was bad. They did that well. I was uncomfortable.
Right.
One guy's like,
this guy is not inspiring a lot of confidence in him. It's like, man, I do not want to go into battle with him leading me anywhere. And so back on their planet they're on, we have Bix's boyfriend who basically betrays him, sells him out. That's how they know where he's at. He tips him off. Why do you think he did that?
I mean, you think he was just jealous. He seemed like a good guy. I mean, I don't know. I mean, jealousy is a bad thing, and I feel like whatever the relationship is with the two of them, I don't know if he knows what it is, but he got the same vibe we got, which was there's obviously something there, and he wouldn't have been wrong. I mean, they were definitely not looking at each other like, a fence would look like at their one of the thieves they dealt with. There was something more there. I don't want to say I don't blame the guy, but at the same time, I mean, that girl's pretty good looking for that planet. I didn't see too many of hers running around, so I mean, got to do what you got to do.
And not only that, I also feel like he probably knows that Cassian deals in some shady business, and from his perspective, it's like, well, this guy is coming around my girlfriend, and now he's wanted by the Empire, basically. Why should I not, keep her from being in danger? Why shouldn't I do it? I mean, obviously, you don't agree with him. First off, I'm not for pro snitching in the first place.
Right.
I don't think he even knew that Cassian was wanted for murder. So I think he just saw an opportunity and seized it. But
again, I don't
then
think
you get the.
I don't know. I kind of like that guy because I mean I don't know he didn't. He seemed like he was going to have maybe a redeeming arc, and I guess in a way he maybe did. But I expected a little more out of that guy.
Yeah, I mean it was a very short arc.
Yeah.
So then we meet Lieutenant Ryo. That's the character we meet at the end of episode 2. He's coming in on the transport. I feel like I've been this guy before where you're just going somewhere and someone else in the car wants to talk to you. Like just comes over, sits down, let's have a conversation. It's like, bro, I don't want to talk to you. I'm just trying to get transported here so I can do my business and leave. We don't have to have a conversation. But so basically he is the connection that Binks called to buy the device he has that basically tracks the movements of the Empire. And he gets there around the same time that the security protocol gets there to take Cassian into custody. So we have basically the third episode where they go to his mom's house, shake her down a little bit. He kind of gives himself away because of the B2 and the comm that he has on him and gives his location. And I thought I liked that final episode. It was really like watching the climax of a movie.
Yeah, it was a good one too.
And so it seems like
guy on the train. I feel like he's going to come back. This is just a random. The way that he said, "You never know who you're talking to," because he didn't want to give him his name, and I mean, he didn't even not want to give him or his profession. He was like, "What do you do?" And he only gave him like a second to answer, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you don't tell me. You never know who you're talking to." I feel like he's somebody else.
True.
But we'll see. Maybe not. His accent was also one of the very strong British accents that like threw me off because we had just heard the Scottish sergeant. Or
it's like
would be.
I don't know why it kind of reminds me of in Obi-Wan Kenobi the episode where they're like on the run and they come across the alien who picks them up and he's like loyal to the Empire. You remember that part?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you never know who you're talking to, like But I don't know. I remember that part specifically because that alien was voiced by Zach Braff. And
really?
I'm just like watching the episode. If you go back and listen to it, it's like clear as day. It's like, yeah, here's fucking Dr. Dorian in the Star Wars universe.
Interesting.
But yeah, so basically he meets with Cassian, and instead of wanting to buy the device, he's basically trying to draw him into the rebellion. So we see like what I think the show is going to be going forward. It's going to be how this rebellion actually comes together. It's built when we meet Luke Skywalker, when we get introduced to the Star Wars universe. The rebellion is already a thing. They already is pretty structured, but something like that just doesn't come together. And so we're seeing like getting the motivation, what's making these people decide that they want to rebel against the Empire. And I think one of the things might be when the security force comes into town and does what they did. They were not happy seeing them go into his mom's house and turn that place upside down. Like they were already banding together outside when that was going on. And then when they all start banging on all the metal components outside, putting everyone on alert what was going on, it was like, yeah, these people are not about this. And then they killed the boyfriend. Like that was pretty brutal. They handcuffed her to the wall and then killed her boyfriend and left her handcuffed to the wall staring at her boyfriend's dead body.
Yeah, it was rough. Again, very adult. I kind of expected when he's because even the mother said you need to be wary when the sound stops, and then when the sound stopped, nothing really happened. I expected the people to like kind of band together and do something, but I don't know if that. I kind of thought that was what was happening, was they were making that noise so that people could prepare themselves, and then everyone would know now is the time to act. Now that the sound stopped, but they played it up like that, and then nothing happened. So
I don't know how much there was left to do after they detonated that one vehicle. I feel like at that point they killed a bunch of those guards. I don't know how many of those guards actually survived between the ones that were in like the I don't know if it was like a warehouse you would call it.
yeah,
They were in when they had their meeting.
Had like engines all hanging up or whatever on top. Yeah,
Right, which
definitely a
turned
few
out
of
to be
them
very
died.
unsafe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why you would hang things that heavy from the ceiling. It seems like that would be very big, something you don't want to do. But so it seems like it was a good start to a show. Like I like that they did a 3-episode arc. I think it would have been better than if they tried to just say, let's just write 12 episodes that all have, a beginning, middle, and end, and also try to tell a story that's 12 episodes long. It's really hard to do that, to tell one overarching story, but then have that overarching story have all independent overarching stories within it. So doing the 3-episode premiere and making that kind of one big long story, I think that was probably the right move on that side.
Do you think they're going to do that from now on, or is it going to be a 1-episode story each time?
I think it won't be a 1-episode story each time in the way that we were talking about The Mandalorian turned into like an adventure of the week with only like a loosely overarching plot. I think because this story fits into the Rogue One story, they're clearly building towards that. So it's going to be one long story, but I think they'll try to do a better job of having the episodes have more of a structure. I don't think episode 2 could have ever worked as a standalone episode of any like TV series. If episode 1 would have came out and we waited a week and we saw episode 2, it would have killed all the momentum. So I think they're going to try to avoid that, but it's easier to keep your momentum going as well once you have established the foundation of the show as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just curious because that's definitely a story of the week. Just because Star Wars is so much going on usually, and because the episodes are relatively short, it definitely feels like short individual stories, which is not Star Wars is so epic that I feel like it doesn't work for them. But I think if they did, I don't know if they're going to, if they release another 3 that were basically another movie length, they just would write 3 movies instead of writing one TV show. I just kind of think of it that way, But I don't know. I feel like it works pretty well because then you can have that middle episode each time that people expect. Aren't going to really, finish up a story, but those are important as far as stories go. You need that like middle time, you need some downtime in order to like set up the ending and to finish off the beginning. I mean, that's what all stories have, this arc, and to do it in 40 minutes instead of doing it in 3 hours is definitely a challenge that I don't think they've really met with very well yet. So,
absolutely. And I think I like the fact that they've gone away from the standalone movies like we got with Rogue One or we got with Solo, and they're doing series of TV shows now. Even if it's just a 1-season thing, like I don't think Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to have another season or anything. I feel like something like Solo would have worked way better as an 8-episode Disney Plus show than it did as like a 2-hour movie. And if you're gonna make it like that, then you can basically make everything into like a mini trilogy, really, if you wanted to, and just have those be all the episodes of a TV show. But I'm excited about it. I like it. I think the writer of this, I think, has been retained to write some more Star Wars shows in the Star Wars universe. I'd like to see more stories that expand on new characters that we haven't seen before and tell more stories of different people in the Empire, not just the Skywalkers and the people at the forefront of fighting against the Empire. Like, tell me some stories about what it's just like living in this world and not necessarily being a Jedi, or the son of Darth Vader or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that'll wrap it up for today. If you're watching, thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe. We got some more videos coming. Obviously, House of the Dragon is heating up. Andor has about, I think, 9 episodes left. Still, maybe, hopefully, going to get back to the Rings of Power at some point. So, subscribe, and we will be having more videos coming out. Thanks for watching.